Coco is wonderful. I don't think it's controversial to say that this is the best Pixar movie to come out of the 2010s. This is another one with an extremely positive fan base, including my swim coach who says that this is among her top 3 in her Pixar list. In fact, I've seen people who don't care much for the famous Mexican traditions say that after watching the movie, they've come to respect them come the very famous day of Dia de los Muertos. It's amazing how much this movie not only stays faithful to the culture it's adapting, but also how much more of an impact it made around the world than any of the other Pixar movies. There's quite a bit of stuff to talk about, so let's waste no more time and get started. Here's why Coco should never be forgotten. Before anything else, let's just get this out of the way first. Yes, the premise of this movie is similar to The Book of Life, not just because they both are centered around the same holiday, but also because they both feature a wannabe musician with a relative who doesn't approve of music and forces their kid to carry on their family traditions. One thing leads to another, and eventually our main characters cross over into the land of the dead and encounter the dearly departed members of their families. They are very similar premises, but that does not remotely make them the same movies. The Book of Life was a love triangle story, whereas Coco's story is more centered around family and following your dreams. And while I do like The Book of Life, I love Coco. Anyway, it should go without saying that the animation is once again stunning. The studio always finds new challenges to push through, specifically when trying out new animation techniques. And a big part of this comes down to increasing the size and number of its world building. This is easily the biggest and most impressive world I have ever seen in a Pixar movie, let alone a Disney movie. The world wonderfully reflects the different traditions and design of Dia de los Muertos, showing how the spirits appear in the living world, the different departments, and even the displeasure of having to get through a stupid locked gate. There's some other smaller things here and there that represent Mexican culture, including a lot of Spanish language and jokes that only work in Spanish.
He choked on some chorizo!
The other big challenge was animating the skeletons, designing them too to be colorful and very expressive, and adjusting their movements to capture their overall appearances, as well as their over-the-top physical antics we're all familiar with in other very cartoony skeleton shorts. Sometimes too much detail makes a movie feel too busy, but here it works as a part of its aesthetic and vibe. Every part of this movie feels completely lived in. It's beautiful to look at, and all the characters are funny and likable. Speaking of characters, let's talk about them now, starting with Miguel, Pixar's first human child protagonist. He perfectly strikes that balance of being loving and energetic, but also sometimes rebellious and unwilling to listen to reason. It really is a skill when part of his motivation is being somewhat selfish and unappreciative, but still coming off as sympathetic and not annoying. And of course, as a wannabe musician, we get to hear him sing various songs throughout the movie, and by God, Anthony Gonzalez, I really hope that's how your name is pronounced, has an amazing voice. You can really tell he put in his full passion when voicing Miguel, just perfect. I also really love Hector. I was admittedly initially worried that he would be another typical comedic sidekick, but I like that they went the other way and made him into a very sympathetic and compelling guy when we get to learn more about his past, while still being funny and charming. Most of the story is centered around the dynamic between him and Miguel, but also Miguel's relatives from the land of the dead, who are all full of personality. Some people find these characters a little bit unmemorable, but I think the complete opposite. They're very supportive and caring toward Miguel and are also very hilarious. All of these characters come together to tell a delightful yet heartbreaking story about family, but we'll get to that later. The two biggest elements that make this movie so great is 1, the music obviously, and 2, its story about family. First, I want to briefly talk about the movie's music. I'm not going to go too in-depth with this part, but man, the songs are so good. Some leave you bopping to the music, others leave you in tears. What I especially love about the songs is how they're respectful to Mexican culture. Most of the songs feel like traditional Spanish songs, and most of the lyrics within them are sung in Spanish. Other songs are sung completely in Spanish. That's how good and respectful the songs are, in my opinion. The second and most important element of this movie is its story about family. Family is a significant theme in this movie because it's central to the plot and message. From the very beginning, we learn that Miguel's family has a complicated history with music, and this tension sets the stage for the rest of the movie's exploration of this theme. The movie really emphasizes the importance of family and shaping our identities and influencing our dreams. Miguel's passion for music is not just a personal interest, but a reflection of his family's history and cultural heritage. By exploring his family's past, Miguel is able to understand himself better and find a sense of purpose in his music. Overall, family is a significant theme in Coco because it is essential to the movie's exploration of identity, history, and love. Through its portrayal of the different family dynamics, the movie encourages viewers to appreciate the people we are connected to and honor the sacrifices they've made for us. I'm not gonna act like this movie is perfect, because it isn't. No movie is. I will admit the story feels a little too predictable. Of course the main character has a passion that not everyone approves of. Of course the person he idolized for so long turns into a bad guy. Of course Hector turns out to be a member of the family. Actually, I didn't see that twist coming, so sorry I mentioned that. Yeah, the story is a bit guessable, and you can see where certain parts are headed. But even though there are times where I could tell what was coming, it still delivered on every other level with extra charm and emotion that I was nonetheless able to stay engaged in the story. And it did not disappoint at all. Especially when it was time for an emotional moment, and they really succeeded on all cylinders in almost making me bawl my eyes out.
Remember
Yeah, I really love Coco. It's a true gift to Mexican culture that remains faithful to it, and yet another masterpiece that rightfully belongs up there as one of the best Pixar movies ever made. It's fun, it's heartfelt, it's fun, it's heartfelt, it's satisfying. What else can I say? It's Coco. Everybody knows it's great. Everyone also knows, very unfortunately, that a freaking 22-minute long Frozen short was attached to it when it was first in theaters. Oh, good Lord, Disney, what the hell were you thinking?